Europe as a whole is one of the wealthiest regions in the world. However, there is still a significant disparity between the richest and the poorest countries in this part of the world. In this video, we will examine the ranking of the poorest European countries in terms of GDP per capita. Gross domestic product per capita is the sum of goods and services produced in a country divided by the total population. This indicator provides an objective reflection of the standard of living in a particular country. Number 10. Bulgaria. GDP per capita is $14,890. Bulgaria ranks as the 10th poorest European country. When Bulgaria lost its Soviet market in the 1990s, it attempted to transition to a democratic, free market economy, but this had a detrimental effect on its economy. It was further impacted by the global financial crisis in 2009. According to an IMF study, Bulgaria's economy is vulnerable, with over 41% of its population at risk of falling below the poverty line. Number 9. Serbia. GDP per capita is $10,850. Serbia demonstrated stable economic growth for 8 consecutive years in the early 2000s, but it was severely affected by the global financial crisis in 2009, resulting in the country's external debt rising to 63.8% of GDP. Serbia is prone to natural disasters such as floods and earthquakes, which impact the country's economic progress. Number 8. Montenegro. GDP per capita is $8,837. Montenegro's economy is heavily reliant on the energy industry. Rapid urban growth, accompanied by deforestation, is depleting the country's natural resources, making it more vulnerable. Gender and age discrimination are prevalent, leading to income inequality. Nearly 50,000 Montenegro residents are internally displaced or refugees. The poverty rate in Montenegro is 8.6%. Number 7. Bosnia and Herzegovina. GDP per capita is $8,220. The main factor contributing to poverty in Bosnia is the legacy of war. Bosnia and Herzegovina had a promising economy before the Bosnian War in the 1990s. It took 2 decades for the country to return to normal life. During the war, many men died, resulting in women heading a quarter of Bosnian households. Gender pay inequality still exists, with women receiving lower wages, leading many families into poverty. Number 6. North Macedonia. GDP per capita in North Macedonia is $7,380. The country has recently undergone radical changes in its economy, with trade accounting for over 90% of the domestic product. Despite successful reforms by the North Macedonian government, the unemployment rate remains high, standing at around 16.6%. At one point, North Macedonia had the highest unemployment rate in Europe at 38.7%. Number 5. Belarus. Like other former Soviet republics, Belarus faced significant economic challenges after the dissolution of the USSR, making it the 7th poorest European country. Belarus went through an economic crisis until 1996 when it started to recover. However, it is currently facing difficulties again due to sanctions. Belarus has a GDP per capita of $7,094. Number 4. Albania. The Republic of Albania has a GDP per capita of $7,060. The country is still transitioning from a socialist economy to a free market one. Albania is rich in natural resources such as oil, natural gas, iron, coal, and limestone, which are contributing to economic revival. It is currently a developing country, with a dominant service sector and manufacturing industry. Number 3. Moldova. Moldova's GDP per capita is $6,340, making it one of the poorest countries in Europe. Several factors, primarily social policy mistakes and the lack of food security, have contributed to the decline of industrial and agricultural production. Over time, the service sector has grown in Moldova's economy, now accounting for over 60% of its GDP. This has helped reduce the percentage of citizens living below the poverty line over the last 2 decades. Number 2. Kosovo. The Republic of Kosovo is a partially recognized state with a GDP per capita of $5,020. 1/3 of the country's population earns less than €500 per month. Kosovo has a very high unemployment rate, exceeding 30%. However, it is expected that this figure will decrease in the coming years as the country is undergoing development. Number 1. Ukraine. Ukraine takes the first place in the list of the poorest countries in Europe with a GDP per capita of $4,650. Despite being the second largest economy in the USSR, Ukraine is now facing severe economic challenges, especially due to the ongoing military conflict. Approximately 3 million Ukrainians within the country are in urgent need of humanitarian assistance, and several million have fled Ukraine, marking one of the fastest population migrations in recent history. Infrastructure destruction and internal displacement continue. It's worth noting that the ongoing Ukrainian conflict is significantly altering the economic landscape in Europe. Ukraine has already become the poorest country in Europe, as reflected in official statistics and IMF data. Sanctions are impacting the economies of Russia and Belarus, while Western countries are grappling with energy and food shortages, which are also affecting their industrial potential and overall economic development.